What if I told you that one narrow stretch of water, just a few miles wide, could trigger a global economic crisis or even a full-scale war? Right now, the United States is doing something extremely aggressive. Not airstrikes, not sanctions, a naval blockade. And it's happening in one of the most dangerous choke points on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just another geopolitical move. This is a high-stakes power play between the U.S. and Iran, one that could spike oil prices, shake global markets, and pull multiple countries into conflict. Because here's the reality. This blockade doesn't just affect Iran. It affects the entire world. The United States has begun restricting maritime traffic in and out of Iranian ports. But here's the twist. They're not completely shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Instead, they're doing something far more strategic. They're allowing global shipping to pass, but targeting Iran specifically. That means ships not connected to Iran allowed ships linked to Iranian ports monitored, delayed, or intercepted. This is not chaos. This is controlled pressure. Because the Strait of Hormuz is not just any waterway. It's one of the most critical energy routes in the world. Every single day, massive oil tankers pass through this narrow corridor, carrying fuel that powers entire economies. In fact, around 20% of the world's energy supply moves through this one route. So when something disrupts it, the entire planet feels it. Now here's where things get intense. The decision wasn't random. It was calculated. The goal? To hit Iran where it hurts the most, its money flow. Specifically, 1. Oil revenue. Iran earns billions by exporting oil. 2. Strait control fees. Iran had started demanding tolls from ships passing through the strait. So the U.S. response? If you control the route, we'll control your access to it. Trump made it very clear. Iran won't be allowed to selectively profit anymore. It's either backhand index pointing right everyone passes or backhand index pointing right no one benefits. Iran did not stay silent. They called the blockade piracy. And they didn't stop there. They warned, if pressure continues, they could retaliate by targeting ports across the Gulf. Now think about that for a second. That includes regions like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait. This is no longer a two-country situation. This is a regional flashpoint. Security analysts are warning about two major dangers. Warning risk 1, oil prices explode. Every disruption in this region sends shockwaves through energy markets. And it's already happening. Prices are rising. And when fuel prices rise, everything else follows. Food, transport, daily living costs. Warning risk 2, war resumes. Right now, there's a fragile ceasefire. But this blockade? It could break that completely. If that happens, we're not talking about tension anymore. We're talking about direct war. Let's simplify it. A naval blockade means a military operation designed to stop ships from entering or leaving a country's ports. Not just enemy ships. Even neutral ships can be affected. It's one of the most serious actions short of full war. Now, this is where things get complicated. Some global authorities say no country has the right to block international waterways like this. Others argue, in wartime conditions, a country can legally impose a blockade. So what we have here is a legal gray zone, and that makes the situation even more dangerous. Here's something interesting. The U.S. is not placing ships right next to Iran's coast. Why? Because that would be extremely risky. Instead, they're positioning themselves further out, near the Gulf of Oman. This allows them to track ships using satellites, monitor movement, intercept vessels once they reach open waters. Satellite imagery has revealed something crucial. A massive U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, has been spotted near the eastern edge of the Gulf of Oman. Not alone, it's surrounded by guided missile destroyers. This is not just surveillance. This is a full strike group presence. So far, there haven't been confirmed seizures. But the strategy is clear. Monitor ships leaving Iranian ports, track them via intelligence systems, intercept if necessary. And yes, past operations have included helicopters boarding ships mid-sea. That alone tells you how serious this can get. The U.S. has stated one important condition. They will allow food, medical supplies, essential goods, but only after inspection. So this isn't a complete shutdown. It's selective pressure. Despite the blockade, some ships are still getting through. Tracking data shows that multiple Iran-linked vessels have already crossed the strait, which means the blockade is not airtight. Enforcement is still evolving, and that creates uncertainty, which is the most dangerous factor of all. This is no longer just about Iran. China buys nearly 90% of Iran's oil, has already called the blockade dangerous. Asia, heavily dependent on Middle Eastern energy, facing fuel shortages, global economy, rising inflation, supply chain disruptions, risk of recession. Even the International Monetary Fund has warned, if this continues, the world economy could take a serious hit. And then there's the civilian side. Inside Iran, heavy dependence on imported grain, risk of food shortages. Across the world, higher fuel prices, expensive food, economic stress. This is not just politics. This is real life for millions of people. Normally, around 3,000 ships per month pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But now, that number has dropped drastically, from thousands to just a handful per day. That's not disruption. That's near paralysis. So here's where things stand. A narrow waterway, a powerful military presence, and a fragile ceasefire hanging by a thread. The U.S. says this is about control and pressure. Iran says it's an act of aggression. The world, caught in the middle. And the real question is, does this blockade force peace or push the region into something far worse? Because in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, it doesn't take much for everything to spiral out of control. What do you think? Is this a strategic move or the beginning of a bigger conflict? Let me know in the comments.